Hi everyone, welcome. I'm Carly from Carly's Creative Clay. I hope you all have had a good week. Hi Fairy Hedgehog and hi Charlie, I know you're there. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow as well actually. I'm going to start off by showing off an item from my shop, which is how I start every week, so this is already available. And I like to do this because it's very hard to show my creations off in the photos in the Etsy shops, but if you want to see what I make, that's the link to it up in the top corner there. Right, let's bring this up a bit close. So first off, it's got a little metal heart in it, the blue dragon's mouth, which actually has a clear crystal in the middle of it, and blue and pink dragons sort of snuggled up together, and they've got my decently made eyes in them, and I'm very pleased with it. They're sat on apparently we're dropping frames, I'm really sorry guys, and it's sat on a heart-shaped base. That's the underside of it. Because I ran out of gold, I had to go into using some tan, but top side it looks gorgeous. So he's they are 30 quid if you're interested. Alright, I'll put that to one side. Next, last couple of weeks I made some dinosaurs and some turtles. Well, I've got them baked and varnished, so I thought I'd just quickly show you how they ended up. So that's the dinosaur. They're going in for £17, and the turtles, which are these guys, and since varnishing it made the waves really show up a lot more, so I'm really pleased with them. Thank you. The turtles are going in for 18. The reason why they're £1 more is, can you see those white bits there? They're actually freshwater cultured pearls, 2 of them, but I thought they looked like waves breaking against the heart, so I thought I'd include them. It's worth the extra price hike. So they've been done. I will be putting them in my shop over the next week. So what we're doing today, previous weeks I've showed you that Marks and Spencer's, unfortunately they've stopped doing them. I think I can't find them anywhere. They were doing these perfect pick cherries, and they were in chipboard box, nice little one, and they work out as a really good size for displaying some of my little bits like charms, and I made some decorative eggs and things like that. So I coated the inside already with some gold swirly clay, and I now want to do the outside. If you can see, and I did this on the inside, I've got a pin tool like that, one of them, and just gone round and scored some nice grippy lines in it all. Any gaps that they had, I've pushed clay into to make it so that it's all nice and level for clay going on the outside. So I showed you 2 weeks ago a cane that I made in golds and coppers for the other box that I have, and this week I'm going to make a really nice brightly coloured cane for this one. So what I did, I started out, drew out a triangle on a bit of paper, and how I design my canes is I will start with a central feature. In this case it was that loop, so that went in first. I drew it in pencil before I went over it in pen and colours, And then I just built up from that loop downwards and upwards with just almost like doodles. Thank you. So these at the top, when they tessellate in, they will be hearts, and hopefully these ones down the bottom will look quite heart-shaped-ish as well. So once I got it how I wanted, I've covered it in sellotape, but not just the front. I've done a long strip, covered the front in it, then wrapped it around and covered the back. The reasoning behind that is when you get your clay, if you're trying to hold it against this for size comparisons, the stickiness of your raw clay will literally just pull the sellotape off the surface if it's just stuck down on the paper. So wrapping it over, give yourself a big border. So that's where the border is, you can see it shining. That will hold firm even if you put raw clay on it and pull it off and give it a bit of manhandling. The reason why you tape cover is because you don't want your pen to come off on your raw clay, because again, the stickiness of the clay will pull the ink off when you're resting it against the picture. So it's worth the extra step of sellotape covering it. I have got a laminator. I don't think it's worth wasting the cost of a laminating pouch for, so sellotape does fine. If it's a design you think you're going to use a lot though, you might want to try a laminating machine with it. So in order to make it so that this clay session doesn't last until midnight tonight, I have made up some of the colours that I'm going to use. So let's start out actually the pink. We'll start from the top downwards. So the pink for the heart and that heart, I've done this. So I will be showing you how to do a skinner blend, but so I will show you how to make this. That's the pinks there. Then we got that plain blue without a fade. I chose that shade. Then the spirals in purple. Now the purple is what I'm going to show you how to skinner blend, so that's the start of it, and I'll go into that next. Then we're on to the gold and copper fans. So that's the gold, that's the copper, then a whole lot of white for all of that, huge amount of white. Then we've got the orange of the suns. I've done an orange yellow mix, and with that I got some true orange, mixed it with a good heap of true yellow, blended that fully so we got this more saffron coloured orange, and then swirled that in with some yellow on its own. So this is marbled all the way through, and I show you on so many videos how to make that marble effect. Basically it's lots of twisting it together and then cutting the outsides off and folding it in on itself, and that's a really bad description of it, but you can see it in lots and lots of my other videos, or you can just use a solid orange.
Says, I love the orange marble.
Thank you, but I thought it looked more sun-like. So we got the green loop. Now what I've done for this is I got a blend like that, I cut it in half, and then I put the two light colours facing into each other, and then smoothed it off and got it shaped to the length I want. So that's how I got the pal bit in the middle. Okay, so it's not as tricky as that looks. The yellow for the centres, I've done, you can't really see on camera, there's a darker yellow to a lighter yellow fade. There you go, that's a bit better, you can see it a bit more there. That one's quite subtle, but I thought it was still good to do that. Then we're on to the orange and grape coloured spirals. Now what I've done with this is I literally rolled out some black on the thinnest notch on my pasta machine, laid some black and some orange. I darkened the orange with a bit of burgundy, then another thin strip of black, then the grape colour, I can't remember what they call that, and I've run out of the packet so I can't look, and then another black, and then once I've got it all squared off, I put it down in front of me and cut diagonally to create that lip, so when we roll it up it will look better. You'll see what I mean when we get to that stage. Lastly, the dark blues of those, which is a blue into a blue silver, the green for the outside of that, which is there. Then we got that wavy line and that wavy line, which I've done an antique gold by adding black to gold, and a rose gold by adding copper to gold. And very last is that tip. Now when I drew it out, I just did a single divide on a little triangle, but I got fiddling and this is what I've ended up making. So I got 3 different shades of blue and I just literally stacked them up and pinched them into a triangle. Did a very thick dark blue around 2 sides and then covered the whole thing in a 3-sided light blue. So when that stacks together you'll get the segmented middle. Okay, so normally I say you work from your lightest colour first to your darkest colour. So by all rights I should be going white, yellow, orange and onwards. It's going to be really hard to get the different components to the right size if I do that. So what I'm actually going to do is start from one corner and make my way up the picture, and in order to make it so that I'm not running off and washing my hands all the time, which if you're not on live on air you should wash your hands regularly when you're actually switching between colours that aren't going lightest to darkest like this. What I've done, got a packet of wet wipes.
Can't wait to see this finished.
Thank you. Wet wipes, they were a bit old so they were a bit dry. I literally just opened them up, run them under the tap so that they got a fair bit of water in it, so when I wash my hands I've got some very wet wipes. And a massive roll of kitchen roll, huge. Cleanliness is important for this, guys, it really is. Right, the last thing you need to get prepped up before you make your canes is lots of sheets of the thinnest rolled out black your pasta machine can do. You can try and do this by hand. It's very difficult to get it very uniform.
It's like the lead in the stained
So,
glass, isn't it?
and what that is when you're drawing out the picture, everywhere I've drawn a black line dividing up the different colours, that will be this. So you need a fair old bit of it, and because it's black I really say get it rolled out, separate it out with greaseproof paper, and then go get your hands clean and get everything else clean, and that's already done. Trying to do this as you go, I've found causes a huge mess, so I rather prep it up first. I'm putting that way out the way to one side, and we'll be getting bits as I go. So let's start off quickly showing you how to make a Skinner blend block. I'm going to do it with a pasta machine because it is quicker. You can't turn the fan off, I'm going to die.
To see if that's why we're dropping frames. Something is
Sorry. My techie's trying to do his best to figure out why he's dropping frames. So rule is light colour to the left. You need a triangle of one colour. Now if you want any of that colour to show in the end, you need to make sure there's a flat bit to it. If you don't want the colour to show in the end, you take it all the way up into a point, because what we're going to do is keep folding it over that way so that the blend happens between those two sides. So I want a block of purple, but I don't want any white, and it is just a case of running it through the machine. Now I want to go to my next to thickest one there. Now I'll be as quick as I can with this. If you're wondering why I keep taking this out and doing it like that, pulling the handle from that position up that way is harder on your hands than just pushing down, so I keep doing that. Now if you first saw that, you go, oh my god, that's ruined. No, it isn't. This is entirely workable. You need to fold it over, making sure that you got your colours pretty well lined up, and it doesn't matter about these gaps, they will all blend in. And because I'm going to do this quickly, I'm doubling mine over. If you ain't got a lot of time to do it, it's a way of speeding things up. But there are a lot of players that say don't do it. I've never had a problem with it though. Oops. There we go, that's run through. See, already it's starting to look better, and we've got a lot of dark just underneath on that white. It will come out pretty shortly. So again, make sure that the worst thing you can do is, instead of folding it top to bottom on one of the passes, you accidentally fold it side to side, and then you won't ever get your blend. You might as well just mix that and use whatever colour you end up with, because that's what's going to happen to it. So long as you keep the top to bottom fold, it will work out fine. See, and all these scruffy edges, we'll get them all tidied up, don't worry about that. Just try and make sure you don't trap any air in that top bit there. So I always push down on that and go through, push at the very tip of the fold and then work my way out. The other thing you can do to help save yourself from trapping air is the side that you folded over is the side you can put in first. But again, remember, light to the left. Keep running it through. Whilst I'm doing this, I'm going to tell you, if I look knackered next week, it's because I'm having a rare day out on Tuesday. I'm going to the closest beach to me because I have a real love of nature and I love being up at the seaside, so I can just look in the rock pools and enjoy the water and that sort of thing. But it will knacker me, but I still plan to be here. Now, as you can see on the last pull through, it was looking pretty streaky. It's still looking pretty streaky. And again, that can make you very nervous if it's your first time through, that this is it going wrong. It's not. Just keep doing it. Make sure that it's not getting too wide.
I hope you have a lovely time at the beach.
Thank you. Just heading up to Worthing Beach. It's my local. It's a shingle one, but that should mean hopefully I get to find some really nice shells. I would say I'd be looking for pretty stones, but I've actually got quite a few of them already, and I don't want to take more from nature than I can use. So I think I will be just looking for any very pretty shells, because them I've got next to none of. See, it's almost going there. I think one more pass and we'll be where I want with this. Oh, let's run through. Ooh, come on, there we go. Yeah, I'm not well enough to have a holiday, so I'm having a holiday day. There we go. Can you see it's got a really good fade from that dark colour all the way up to a very light purple. It still looks slightly streaky. If I was going to use that as is on a piece like the background of a pendant, I'd probably do it a couple more times just to get rid of some of that lines. But when we're using it in a cane, by the time we reduce it, it will vanish. So I'm all about not doing work that you don't need to do. So, how to turn it into a block. You, like you were folding it for running through the machine, you're going to do that again, because it's much easier to shape it when it's in a thicker form. So that's about as thin as I would go for starting to actually try and turn it into a different shape, because otherwise you really risk a concertina effect happening. Can you see it already wants to start to do that, and you've got to persuade it that what you want is a narrower all the way through, so I can hold it in the middle whilst push on different sides, turn it over. Cool, shall do. Because it's a shingle beach, it's unlikely to have that many rock pools, if any. But if I see any, and if it's just pretty, I'll take pictures and I'll put them on next week's live stream so you can all see. Can you see I'm just lightly tapping and it's turning it into more of a block that's easier to work with. So just that simple. That's how you end up with a fade block. So let's get started on making this cane. Now, the rule with a cane, you're making your picture so that it shows on the surface what you want, but it needs to be thick. So I wouldn't make your start off the cane any thinner than that, and that's about, where are we? Let's get my tape measure. Looks a couple of centimetres to me. Yeah, 2 centimetres. Because you need to get enough room to get your fingers in around the edge and squidge at a later point. So that's my rule. 2 centimetres, no thinner. So let's get started. That's that bottom point. I already can see that I'm going to end up with a bigger cane than this picture. So it really is just going to be a guide. So let's start out with that loop. So I'm going to use one of the rose golds. I'm just going to roll it out so that it's a long thick strand. And I'm not going to do this through the pasta machine because I want to get it a lot thicker than a pasta machine's thickest setting. So I'm just going to use my fingers, pinching and pulling and rolling pins. There we go. You want to try and make sure that it's as even as you can get it, because you don't want your design to look different in different areas. Right, we're getting there. And don't forget, you want it the same sort of thickness height wise as your first point, so use that as your measuring guide. So probably taller and thinner is where I need to go with this. Here we go. The good thing about a kaleidoscope cane as opposed to a picture cane where you're trying to create a specific picture is if it goes a bit wonky or things aren't perfectly even, it looks like that's what it's meant to. It still looks good. So let's check. Can you see it's not the same height as that side? Yeah, so I need to bring that up taller. You can push it in, just pinch that way, or if you want to use a rolling pin, put it on its side. Let's move these clays out of the way. Use your rolling pin. You can, if it's thick, you can pull it off. If it's thin, you need to use your blade and you need to hold it either side and pull it towards you. This is called a tissue blade, and it's your best friend if you're a clayer. So let's see. Yep, that looks roughly the right height. So we need to cover each side in black. Just reaching over, I'm going to get one of those black strips. Like this. Stick that down on my board. Now, I'm going to try and get both sides out of this. So the longest side, because we want the two outside edges, that's the side you're going to put against the clay, like this. Now give it a proper trim up once we're finished. Let's see. Now this is one where I'm going to need to use my blade to free it up, and because it's on the side, I am working in a more unstable direction. Just make sure that you keep your pressure so that the blade is against the board and facing downwards, so you can still do it. There we go. Take that off. So one side of black. Do watch where you put your little bits, because they will stick to your other colours. I tend to have a little bits pile, and there's lots you can do with your excess small bits. They do tend to just clump together and make a nice pattern in their own right. So half the time I end up using my little bits as part of swirly clays. So I don't think no, there's one occasion I've thrown away clay, and that's when it's sat against plastic that it's reacted with and made the plastic melt into it. Then I throw it away because I'm not sure whether that's going to change the nature of the clay. But other than that, any scrappy bits are absolutely worth keeping, all of it. Right, so we're like that. Now, as you can see, we've still got a bit of an overlap with some of that black and a few air bubbles. Push the air bubbles out, you don't want them. They will distort the end image, so you really got to try and make it all your bits air bubble free. If your clay is overrunning the edge, you're going down at a diagonal angle just so you can feel the thick side of the edge and then drag. I even did that bit with my blade upside down and it still worked. Awesome. It's good when mistakes turn out to work out fine. There we go. Now it seems a bit picky to be trimming it up to this level, but at the end you want quite a flat top surface in order to be able to put your cane ends on, your end caps. But it doesn't have to be entirely accurate. I don't spend a lot of time on it. There we go. Don't do that. Don't put your black clay onto your colours. No matter how big a surface I end up having to work from, I still need more room. I'm just cutting the ends off so that they're flat and tidy. There we go. Done. So we're going to need the yellow. Now let's clean all that black off my hands. This is why you need to keep clean. I mean, look at my hands. Can you see how easy black is to just cover you?
Charlie says that apparently flame drops weren't causing a real problem in the stream.
Oh, good. It always worries me. I want you guys to be able to view the best, but my wonderful techie guy thinks he's solved the issue. So I'm just going to get rid of any black spots like that. Right, now we're over, we need some yellow in order to do that middle bit. I would say I'm going to need at least half of this block for that. So the other half I can divide into those two. Remember which direction your fade is on. I don't want to divide that block like that when the fade goes that way. So clean my blade because I don't want black on what I'm cut. Let's come over the top of it and cut that in half. Like that. Put that to one side. Now, if you can see in this picture, I want the dark side to fade into the light in the middle. So how you do that is one of the other most used way.
Says that's such a complex design. Would it be best to go for something simpler if you're a beginner?
Yes, if you're a beginner, there's some really good simple bullseye canes which you end up with colours surrounding another colour, a bit like what you get with a dartboard. Or a simple spiral, which I'm going to use a simple spiral later on. What I'm doing is I'm elongating this along the colour. You can put it through your pasta machine if you want it to go through quicker. But since I just used my pasta machine for purple, I ain't about to put yellow in it. without cleaning it, and I really don't have time to clean this on stream. So can you see, really trying to get some length in this. That's what you want. Right. Now the other way to get some length is, instead of using a rolling pin, just slightly pull. It will make it thinner across the edges and give you even more length. There we go. That'll do. Right, and now you just simply roll it up. This is known as a jelly roll cane, and this again is a very simple basic cane. Make sure you do not have an air bubble trap there, so you do a really tight at the end, make sure there's not any air bubbles trapped there, so you do a really tight fold over like that, and then you put your fingers on it, press down, and then roll like that. Keep going, even pressure, making sure that it's not veering to one side, so you're not wasting any clay with too much bowing. Right, rolled up. You see? Can you go into a darker mode, please? Because it all just flashes like, there you go. Can you see the darks on the outside and it fades into the light in the middle? So that needs to be rolled out so that it's smaller, because it's quite thick. And again, you're going from the middle to the outside, just to make it a lot thinner, like that. There we go. Now I'm gonna half that, because we've got two shapes to get out of it. Take the ends off, because they're bowed in and scruffy and will be harder to make sit right. So there you go. Well, got to stop working with yellow. It's really hard to show on the camera, but that is a basic jelly roll. So we now need to turn one of them into a teardrop shape. Let's put this to one side. We need it to be, as you can see, that's a lot thinner, a lot taller than the other one. So if I did that on purpose to show you, if you over roll it out, you can bring it back to being thicker just by pushing on it and making sure it doesn't fold over concertina. I'm just going to bring that down to the same height.
I was painting rocks and completely lost track of it.
That's alright. I love your rock paintings, they're so cool. And I'm going to pinch this and turn it in to a teardrop shape, making sure that you haven't got that bow in the middle, that it's a good straight line. There we go. Have a fiddle when you're happy that it looks, having a fiddle, just making sure that it's all uniform around that sort of edge. There we go. Teardrop. So this can go to one side. Now we're going to need the pink hearts. So again, I reckon I'm going to need half of it for the top and take half for those two. So like that, that's going to go to one side, and then divide that into two and turn that into a heart shape by pinching the bottom, and we're going to round the top. So we're just going to push on those corners like that, start to round them off, using your glass board. I've tried many different surfaces to work off of. Glass is by far the easiest. It doesn't hold on to the clay like some of the different chopping boards. And I found, you know, you can get from craft shops, those green ones that are meant to be self-healing. They are awful for polymer clay. They reacted with my polymer clay and started melting. So less of self-healing, more of I'm gonna dissolve like a witch from Oz. Right, there we go. Make sure that the bottom looks like the top. So we've got half a heart. Now, the reason why I'm not surrounding any of these in black is because there's two sides of black to that. So the inner side will put a outside line on them. You see what I mean when I put it together. But I just got to turn this one.
You only need one layer of black, not two.
Yes, I need one layer of black, not two. And you've got to bear that in mind when you're designing your cane. If you surround all of it in your edging colour, some bits are going to be double thickness. And when I did that the first time, I made that mistake and it did look really odd. Then probably the next 5 or 6 canes, when I planned it out, when I was drawing in the outside edge colour, any ones where I actually needed to add black, I drew that in a different colour so that I knew what I was doing. The other thing I did was I would break down the pictures and draw actual component lists. So whatever you find helps you when you're actually making it, to see and not have to think about what you're doing so much. Right, you want these two to look pretty similar because they're going to be lining up like that. So that needs to be patted down a bit, that needs to be made into a point a bit. Yeah, that's roughly it. That'd do. Yeah, just a bit thinner there. I know it looks picky, but with a cane, but when you reduce it, these things tend to show up a little more. So I'm more likely to fiddle on a cane design than I am on a sculpting piece. So we're getting this. We are putting our gold in the centre, like that. Then that comes up like that. That comes up like that. Then we're going to get our heart, put that.
Charlie Star asked Hearty Life, what have you been painting on the rocks? And Hearty Life said, I usually do pretty simple stuff, but I was asked to do some local landmarks.
Oh, I didn't know about local landmarks. I'm going to have to see those once I come off, because that sounds awesome. Now, it's tempting to bring these down like that, but you don't want to, because you want to make these hearts actually look like hearts when you join them together. So this extra I'm going to cut off here like that. But Hearty Life does a lot of work for, is it My Space Sutton or Your Space Sutton? I know it's something Space Sutton. It's a really beautiful place, and she runs some really amazing workshops, both making art pieces, so teaching you how to paint various things, and slime workshops for kids.
Hearty Life said, I haven't posted pics of them yet, though they're will serve a purpose. Use space, Saturn.
Right.
Did you?
Thank you. Well, I bet they're not as ropey as you think they are. I bet they're gorgeous. So there we go, like that. Let's just bring that in. Your space, Sutton. And it was either your space or my space. So let's go the other side. Make sure that's pushed in together. And we got the shape that we want. There we go. Like that. Right. This one is going into a triangle sort of shape. So again, I'm going to shrink it down to show you that you can make it fat again, rather than just show you that you can reduce. Just make sure that that fold is not allowed to fold. So you've got to really be in control of your clay and not let it try and control you. And it will do what you want if you're insistent enough. So this we want into a diamond shape. So we're going to pinch one side, pinch the other side, and then meet our two thumbs along the top edge to make the diamond shape. And once we've started to tell it what shape we want, we can have a fiddle and get it perfect using the desk as a flat edge, like that. There we go.
It's a community space in cheap. Volunteer garden, absolutely beautiful. Check out his Facebook page.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome, and apparently they sell amazing cakes there. I'm still being a complete diet bore. At least I'm not one of these diet bores that think everyone should be doing it with me. But I went to my dietitian a couple of days ago, and it was a bit of a surreal appointment actually, because it turns out when I got on the scales, I've been doing this now for a couple of months, and I've lost, I think she said it was 12k. It's over a stone. I know that. I don't measure in k's myself. But she was absolutely delighted. Apparently, she has a lot of people come in that haven't done a single thing. Didn't think about it, but I suppose that makes sense. If you're being sent to a dietitian by your GP, it's not the same as if you join a diet club, because you haven't chose that. Someone's told you you've got to go do this.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Thank you. She thinks the diet I'm doing is really quite a harsh one. And
says, do you know how much you've lost in stones and pounds?
yes I do, but I need to quickly check it on my phone. I found out what fell over. Earlier we heard a crash and we didn't know what it was. It was my phone falling off the side. There you go. Give me a second. Evernote. Because I don't know if you know this about me. I have a form of dyslexia, which means my brain does not hold numbers. So you will see on my Etsy shop, everything's got a 50 pence, a 1 cent coin, and we'll soon have a €1 for size comparisons, because I'm not good at giving you measurements. So I don't even remember my age. That's how bad it is. If you ask me how old I am, I have to get a calculator out. Little tip for you: if you put your year of birth in and then press the minus and put the current year in, it will give you a year of birth every time. I have lost 1 stone 9 pounds so far since the 24th of May. And what I'm doing is I've set myself gonna eat lean meat, any seafood, any I'm putting a black edge around the top of that diamond. The bottom edge is being covered by the black swirl.
Well done, you.
Thank you.
Hedrick said, bloody hell, that's fantastic.
Thank you all. So lean meat, all seafood, all fruit, all veg, little bit of dairy, and by a little bit of dairy I mean some days I'll have a fat-free yogurt, some days I will only have a drop of milk in my coffee, and I don't do milk in my drink and yogurt on the same day. And if I've done no other dairy at all, I'll either allow myself a couple of mini Baby Bell lights, or on about once a fortnight I have a couple of slices of halloumi with dinner. Dinner is a protein sauce and about 3 different vegetables.
Hearty Life says, so I'm minus 45 years old.
Something went wrong there, love.
No, that you said year of birth minus the current year. If you do current year minus your year of birth.
Oh, wrong way round, isn't it? It's your current year minus your year of birth. Yep, sorry. See? Numerically dyslexic. Told you. There is proof. Can you see how what I did was I took that black right into the corner of the yellow and just stretched it over, cut on the other corner, and I'm going to take that off. And again, I'm going to put that to one side because that bit can be easily used to cover something else in the future in a bit of black. So I'm just making sure that any that's exposed that I don't want to back on and form a thing like the heart, anything I want to border, I make sure I'm putting a border. So you see what I mean where I said you're making a thick picture? Yeah? So far it's coming along, we're up to there. So now we've got the blue and green, and this is going to be a bullseye cane. So actually I'll be showing you how to make a bullseye cane and how to make a spiral cane, which are the 2 easiest types of cane. So again, clean up, get rid of this yellow. We're going to turn this into a bullseye with the green. So what we're going to do first is what we did with the yellow. Take the blue long and roll it from light to dark. While I'm doing this, I can tell you some of the good news that we've been Google searching. This one I'm intrigued. You know how Toyota has Prius cars, and they're all the energy efficient electric running hybrid type things. Well, they're trialing a new type of Prius, and what they're doing with it, they've put solar panels on the roof to help power the battery. Now, when I first heard that, I was like, that's going to make your car heavy as heavy, because we got solar panels on our roof and they're not lightweight things, but apparently these ones are 0.03 millimeters thick. So I can see the good point on it. That will be really save your plugging in and having to wait for it to charge time. I can't help thinking I hope it's made of something extremely durable, because if it's that thin, you run your car under a low branch, it's bad enough getting your paintwork scratched. I can imagine getting your solar panels scratched up is going to be screaming blue murder time. But that's just my pessimist ways. I'm pretty sure that Toyota have thought of this and are doing something that will make it tough. Maybe they put Gorilla Glass on it. I don't know. It's possible. But They say the solar panel's that thick. They don't say what the coating protecting the solar panel's thickness is. Am I pessimistic or what? Right, brought it out long and thin. So, top edge, fold it right over. Don't trap any air. Make sure it's all good. And just roll it up. Now, if you aren't doing this with a Skinner blend, you can just literally get a single colour and roll it into a circle like this. But I'm blending, so I'm not. So now we got to get this green to go around the outside of that. So again, more rolling out. I have found it's easy to end up with a favourite type of rolling pin. That's what happens if you peel it off when it's too stuck or too thin. That's fine. So let's get a blade to release that. Where did I put my blade? That's a good thing to admit on camera, that you're going to lose your blade. Up here. Very out the way. So out the way I didn't spot it. Don't worry, this will all patch up fine.
After you said the correct way of working at your age, said, silly me, I just did 2 digits for the year, so my birth year was higher than the current year.
Yeah, you need the 19 bit in it on both. So 19 whatever for your year, and the full year for whatever the date is. Right, so what we're doing is we're trying to get it so that this is able to go all the way around the blue that we've rolled up. And I'm just having a smudge and a pour, making sure that it's wide enough. And even though we're only going to do it with 2 colours, you can literally just layer it up, as many colours as you want, and then you end up with circles inside each other of different colours. So I want a flat edge so that they join easily. There we go. Now, will you fit all the way around? Nope, still need to be longer. So again, pull and stretch. Doing a cane is not something you can rush. It does take time, and some of the more complex ones takes quite a bit of time. And you're meant to leave them, either once you made them, leave them to sit for 24 hours or stick them in the fridge for a little bit. And the reason behind this is because you've heated up the clay because you've been working it with your hands, especially in a hot environment like this. But depending on what you're doing, different bits of clay are getting different amounts of manhandling. So they will be at different softnesses. So when you try to reduce it, some bits will swidge easier than others, and you can end up with a distorted picture. So sticking it in the fridge just brings it all down to the same temperature. The thing you've got to bear in mind though is polymer clay hates moisture, hates it. So you don't want it in the fridge for more than 5 minutes really. You don't want it to start getting condensation on it. Now, done this also to show you, there's bits, can you see, that aren't covered in the green. That is not a disaster, and you don't have to cut off all that clay. Just get some extra, just patch it in. It doesn't matter if it's scruffy with join lines, they all vanish when you reduce it. So you'll be able to see this because there will be all these join lines on this when I'm about to reduce this one down, because we need lots of little ones, not one big thick one like this. Just patching it all in, and you can cut. Yeah, it's probably more sensible to cut off rather than tearing. If I'm feeling particularly lazy, I won't even cut it straight. I'll just tear off the top edge. There we go, that's that top line in. That's the bottom line. Right, so when I talk about reducing, this is what we're doing, and this is going to be a theme through the whole cane. Get your blade out the way, get your scraps out the way. You need to work from the middle outwards. You're going to either roll, or you're going to push with your fingers and pull. You will get to the outside, but you're starting from the middle and pulling out, and you're just shrinking it in size. So when I'm rolling, I do it with one finger. That's what I'm doing. And the reasoning behind that is the ends, can you see, because we've got different colours, they're starting to try and bow over like that. That will distort the picture. You can get end caps to put on each of the ends, so it's just either acrylic or glass, and it sticks. You've got to make sure it's flat. The whole clay sticks to the end, and I will be using it on the final one, and it helps you just reduce the amount of scrap clay you get. I quite like scrap clay. I will show you at the end. You can see over to one side here I've got all the little bits of scrap. I'll show you what I'm going to do with all these. But can you see this is shrinking in size, coming a lot longer but a lot less thick. That'd do. Now the ends look like that. Do you see how that is not what we want? What we want is when you cut in a bit, you've got your bullseye, you've got the different colours in layers, and wherever you cut along that you get the same picture. Okay, so these little end scraps, again, they're going in my scrap pile like that. Now what we want now is to put these in slices. So we're looking at about 2 centimeters. That. Once I've done one notch, it then gives you an idea of what you're doing with the others. So, but there, you can use a tape measure and make sure that you've got them all completely accurate, or you can just eyeball it like I'm doing. Depends on how good you are at doing that. When I started, I was terrible at visualizing thicknesses, and I'm just pushing them in around the top line like that. So put another one in there. There's a gap there, so I'm just going to switch that into a bit of a point, just so that I'm not leaving any air gaps, because you really don't want them. Now remember, you're not going for straight up, you're going for a triangle shape, so we might need one more each side. But what I suggest is, because they're going to line next to each other, your very end ones, so you've got the right height, cut that down the middle like that, and then put the last one on as a half. So when they get put next to each other, they'll tessellate back into a whole circle. See, like that. So we're now on another zigzaggy type line to go over the top of that. Right, it is long. I'm sorry this is a long one. I did warn you all. I know that's scrap, but again, you've got a million uses you can use that for. I'm going to bring this up very long and thin and do exactly what I did with the copper, but with this dark gold. So long and thin. If you get air bubbles that you notice, can you see there's two? You can either stretch the clay, and that's giving it a wiggle, sometimes gets it out. If it doesn't, just get yourself your pin tool, just do a little notch, get the air out, you can smooth it over and it's gone again. See? So it's best to try and do that because you don't want air bubbles. With traditional clay, when you have air bubbles, if you put it in the kiln, it literally explodes. This won't do that. What it does is, if you're making a model, the air bubble will be a structurally weak point because there's no clay in it. It just ends up a hollow void. If you're making a cane, when you start to push the clay together, you'll end up with a distortion that you didn't intend on your image, and that can be.
I love the colours you've made. What to use for this?
I went with nature. What inspired me on this one was a peacock, and something that I find really useful on Google Images, if you put an animal, a thing, and then put colours after it, it will show you a picture of that thing and then do colour blocks next to it of all the different colours found in it. And if you're ever stuck on what colours to use, just look to nature. Nature is the best artist in the world. So I'm going to use this as a template guide on height. So let's go like this. That'll make it easier. Some of my scrap, I've just scored it at the height of our big picture block, so then I can just go around and go, that's too wide. Gives me an easy way of telling what I'm doing. But yeah, so if I'm stuck on colours, I will go find a flower, go find an animal. There's always good colours put together. There you go. Like that. So yeah, you can always make yourself a little guide. Scrap clay. Right, we need to back that in black both sides. Another strip of black. You have to watch it because you've got the black on its thinnest rollout. It's so easy to tear it. I hate working with anything on its thinnest rollout on the pasta machine. I find it so fragile. But you don't want too thicker lines. It looks really weird when you do. Let's go like that. Right. Let's shut this drawer. There we go. Next good news item that we found. And this one actually really is quite a game changer. I'm pretty interested with this. There's a doctor who has come up with a new type of fake skin for skin grafts. Currently, you got 3 choices. If you get really hurt, like those horrible acid attacks or fires or whatever, there's 3 different types of skin grafts you can go for. Either they'll take a bit of skin that's healthy from somewhere else on your body and graft that over the skin, or you can get a donor from someone, but donor skin does not last very long. You better get it on the person quick, and there's higher risks of rejection and things like that. Or they do have a fake man-made synthetic skin, but currently that synthetic skin is $900 per square foot.
Per square inch.
Sorry, per square inch. This scientist has found a way of making it from sea salt, and it's $5. That is a $895 reduction. So then suddenly you can take it to very poor countries and actually be able to offer them some medical care they can afford.
It also lasts 2 years.
And once made, you can stick it in storage for up to 2 years and it won't deteriorate, which all the current stuff, you try and, once it's either made or harvested, you better get a wiggle on using it, or it breaks down, gets old, rots, that sort of thing. So it's a real game changer, isn't it? I'm pretty impressed with that. How they've made that out of salt, I don't know. That it's half the stuff that scientists do amaze me though. I know I'm right down the edge of the table. I'm really sorry it's not on screen as well, but I need to be able to get over the top of this so that I can see it properly. I'm just literally lining it out with black like I did the copper piece. Sorry, the rose gold piece. I'm taking off the excess black so that it's covered two-sided. Do that, do that, do that. So, is any of you guys going on holiday this year? Who can I vicariously feel jealous about? No one rushing to comment. Well, at least I get company. No one's off for weeks. See, I've doubled it out in black each side. And again, have a look across the surface and you're looking for air bubbles. So can you see there and there? There are two. So first step is you push on it towards the outside, because sometimes that'll just convince them to get out down the side. There's a big one there. If they won't push out, make a little hole with a pin. Huge one there. I know, right? If you win the lottery, I'll just move into your suitcase and I'll see you at all your destinations then. That's what you need. A travelling player with you. Going, hi, you didn't expect me. I know you thought you had clothes that you were going to wear on holiday, but you might need to shop for them because I hoofed them out. My twin sister. I'm an identical twin, by the way. There's another one of me running around. But she has no health problems, so she's got a very active life and a very young son, and it's all good. She travels. Yay! My twin travels all over the place. Well, she did definitely before she had a son. That's still a bit tall, so I'm going to need to trim that down.
Sorry, was colouring. There has been and still going to be a lot of new medical stuff coming out with a lot of new and exciting possibilities. Can't wait to see all of it.
We are definitely heading into the future with it all, and it is a subject that I follow because I think it's fascinating, and B, it applies to us all because we've all got family. Now, I want to try and get this into those little gaps, and I'm going to use a tool that there's 2 different places I found that sell these. A woman called Teresa Santiago came up with this idea. She calls them cane benders, and what they are is perspex rods. You can get 3 in squares of different sizes, 4 in squares and 3 in circles. I think they might do another shape, but I'm not sure. These are what I have. So my lovely techie is going to share you the place to get it in the US, which is Teresa Santiago's actual shop, which is Tiny Pandora. But there is someone in the UK who I'm friends with who also sells them, but their shop is closed for repair at the moment, but will be open back up soon. And the idea behind these is you could literally use them to bend your bits of clay how you want. So can you see I'm just using that corner because it's the right size, just to make that nice wavy pattern that I want by pushing it into those gaps. And I didn't think I would have much use for it when I first got this. I've got to be honest, I thought they were going to be one of my few money wasters, and they really aren't. I use them for so much. Not only can you use them like I am for pushing in different angles and rounds, if say this is a scrap bit, say I wanted a window that was a wall and I wanted to put a window in it, you can literally push a hole, push it through, fold it back a bit, make sure that that edge is smooth, then get the colour that you wanted in that bit of the cane. So you wanted, let's get some scrap yellow. Actually, I've got a lot of this. Let's get some of this. So I wanted that as my window colour. You can then roll out a thin bit like that, push that through the hole, just push it in place, and that keeps that nice square shape. Trust me, when I trim it, if I trim it down, that will be properly square in there. So it really makes the world of cane making a lot easier to have these, and they're not expensive. I didn't actually look up how much they were, but if I own a set, then they're not that expensive because I'm pretty broke monetary wise. Right, that gives me that nice little wiggle that I wanted. So these excesses are coming off. So did you share the 2 websites? You did. And they both sell end caps, which I'll show you later on, and a whole load of other little useful clay tools. I know they do have a load of things for jewellery making, like collar templates and bangle templates and all sorts of things like that. If you noticed, I'm not really a jewellery person, so you ain't getting a lot of jewellery out of me. I don't wear it. Even my wedding ring is on a chain in a box in my room. I got no excuses. Just, I suppose some of it brings my eczema up, but that's not really an excuse either. Just not my thing. But yeah, cane benders, useful little set of tools. So put them out of the way. We got that far. We're now up to those spirals. So we're on to this. Do you remember how I said you're layering up your 2 colours with black either side and through the middle, and then you've done a diagonal slice to bring it into a point like that? Well, remember how we rolled up those jelly rolls? That's what we're going to do with this. But where we got these dividing lines, it will make a spiral, especially since we got that diagonal. So if we make sure that diagonal is the bit that folds over, like that, and again, make sure you don't trap any air, you'll get a neater inside than you would if you had it just as a straight chop like that end. So roll it up, make sure you're not going off to one side, like that. This is your spiral cane. So again, too thick, we need it thinner so that we can put them around the outside. I don't want them very thin because they were bigger than the bullseye jelly roll. So it's the same process from the middle, stretch it out like that. There we go. So technically this cane contains a lot of different canes. Let's trim the ends off. Yeah, man, like that. There we go. Right. That's what happens with that diagonal slant. Can you see it gives you that really nice little tick with your roll? And that's a really basic cane. You saw how easy I knocked that up. I mean, if I made that my weekly tutorial, you might all feel a little conned. Right, where's my height guide? That was it. So let's get some of these cut along. There we go. This is the other way to measure. Once you cut one slice, stack it behind the bit you're cutting and just keep cutting to measure like that. So many different techniques. The one that I found really fascinating was someone who got a ruler and glued florist wire on the centimetre line all the way along. Used 2-part epoxy to glue it, thin florist wire, so that sort of thickness. So then when she wanted her stuff a centimetre spaced apart, she just got it and pushed it onto the clay and it got nice indents. I know there's a tool that you can buy that's very similar to that, but I can't remember where, and I remember it would cost a fortune. So I want to recommend it, but only if you've got frivolous amounts of money. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna, these are too tall, push it down. I'm just gonna try and make it so that it covers that outside line, and I need them pretty straight so that they don't interfere with that loop. So I'm just pushing on one side to flatten them out. Make sure that you, if you're doing this, you've got them all faced the right way so that they're all swirling in the same direction. I had that one upside down. You can be so focused in what you're making that you accidentally get it all put on the wrong way around. I've done it and I notice it. I've got to be honest, most people who actually look at what you've made don't. So you will get away with it. There we go, like that. But it's worth trying for some uniformity. I'm not good at that word. There we go, one last one, like this, to fit in here. There we are. So I've got them all swirling in the same direction like that. So get your clay out the way. You don't want your scrap to end up being marking your clay that you're trying to work on. So tidiness is important. Sorry, I'm just doing a quick little straighten up. Talking of new inventions of people to try and do stuff to make it so that this planet don't go to hell in a handbasket, which is what it's trying to aim to do at the moment. Nestle has stepped up on this one. They have brought out a range of granola bars called Yes, and they've made it so that the packaging is all made of paper, so it's easy to break down. And they have released the information on how to do it, but haven't patented it, and have done that to actually encourage their competitors to take it and use it as an idea for how to package sweets. Now, they've only done it with that one range. They've not done it with all their stuff, and I don't think it's available in every country yet, although I'm not certain. But it's a really good start. So now we need this to be... This is going to be interesting. Because can you see that black? We're going to need to get it there. Let's see, how am I going to do that? Yes. Start off, we're going to cover both sides in black. But we're going to do that as one, then cut it there, and then attach that last bit on after you've done the loop. So first off, let's get some black on this. You're good. See why I like to roll out the black first? Here we are. Just pull this off. It's so hot in this room. It makes it harder to use the clay because it does become very sticky. But I work with what I can work with and put the fan on and hope for the best. We are trotting along. I'm sorry this is a long one. I know this is a complicated cane. Do let me know if you all get bored, and I will... I'm happy to finish it off camera or reduce where I'm at because it's still pretty. But I'm hoping just to get those last few bits on it because I think it will make a difference. There we go. The amount of scrap black you end up with is huge. Where are we? I can use this. Whoop. That's going to need freeing up with a blade. Just put you to one side. The thing is, I know this is a really complicated one, but the simple ones look just as good. They really do. Let's see, can I get it at that last bit there? Save me using up all my black. Yeah, you fit. That's all good. Right. In this hot weather, I've started to, as well as giving my guinea pigs a lot of cucumber, I'm also getting grass, chopping it up a bit so that it's releasing some of its juice, and mixing that in with a bit of water and freezing it in little piggy ice cubes, and they're really happy about it. Don't forget your pets when it gets really hot. You can make them their own little ice lollies. If it's a cat or dog, you can mix in a little bit of chicken stock or tuna water. Make sure if you're doing the tuna, it's not in brine. And if you're using a stock cube, it's the low salt one. You can also just literally boil some chicken in some water and use that. They'll be happy with that. Just to give it a bit of flavour.
Would the piggies like frozen cucumber cut into cubes?
Guinea pigs are very distrusting of veg that's actually been frozen. They tend to not eat it, so if I was to get frozen green beans out, they'll be like, nope, that's too smushy. If it seems to be the only thing I can get them to eat frozen is fruit and grass. I have long ago stopped trying to work out what a guinea pig's criteria for good food is, because it's a mystery. They will turn their nose up at one strand of hay and bicker over another one, and they're just a strand of hay. They both look exactly the same. So I think you've got to shrug sometimes and just go, I don't know. It's offer them everything and let them choose. And each guinea pig, same with cat and dog, they're all very different. My mother-in-law's got 2 cats, and the boy cat will eat anything you put down. Very vocal, wants his food all the time. His sister has for such a long time been completely uninterested in food. Bonnie, she'll eat, but just about enough. Well, we put her on to wet food instead of the biscuits, and she's now showing a lot of interest and is actually really suddenly quite keen about food. So it looks like she's gonna have to stop being a dry food cat rather. Right, that's that surrounded. Now we're going up one side, and we're gonna need, so what I'm gonna do is measure out a bit to there, like that. Where's my template? Can you see that's not entirely a straight cut, it's slightly diagonal? So I want to bring it there, cut like that.
Most frozen veg is pretty awful. Freezing it just ruins the texture.
Yeah, I do find that myself actually. I'm much more partial to fresh veg. I've also found where I'm not eating processed sugars anymore, I've started to taste the difference in more subtle fruits, especially fruits. So I can tell the difference in different regions of grapes that are grown. Even so, they're all saying they're black grapes, which are my favourite, but I can tell if they're from Spain or from Portugal, because they've all got slightly different tastes. Back when I was having chocolate and sweets and all that sort of stuff, I really didn't notice it. It was all just sweet grapes. Very, very interesting. It is worth mixing your diet up now and then. Try stuff that's new. Cut bits out. Mix it around. If your body gets really comfortable with what it's eating, it actually promotes you holding weight, because it says it knows what your calorie requirements are going to be, so it can almost plan for it. You don't want that. You want to keep your body on its toes so that it uses its calories properly. Right, I'm just rolling up for the centre of that green twist, the yellow, like I did before. I could have done it all in one big block, but I didn't, and it's worked out fine. So like this. I know I've done it 3 times and you don't really have to. So like this, shrink it down in height. There we are. And you don't have to be crazy like me and do a whole cane in one sitting. I have spent most of the time, actually, when I'm not on camera, I will actually do it over a few. So we need to bring that round like that, tight, 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 join it there like that, and then that, you've got to get it lined up right like that. There we are. This is going to be a stonking huge cane. I think, as well as having enough to cover the outside of that box, I reckon I am going to definitely have enough to go around some other things. How long have I been at this now? Hour and a half? That's alright, that's what we're normally at, that sort of time.
Richard says, I had no idea. I had no idea how you'd do that loop.
Do you see what I did there? Just wrapped it round, brought it out that way and added it on like that. And when they join up, it means we're going to have that loop around the whole thing. Now, I'm going to, first off, let's make some little bird shapes to put on there. Out of some spare black. You do it enough, you end up very, very used to making 3D pictures. So what I'm doing, sorry, I know I weren't on camera there, I'm making some little sort of leaf type shapes out of black. I'm going to make 2 of those. And again, you've got to make sure that they're thick enough. So probably up a bit. There we are. Like that. Put that there. I'm going to add more clay. You're too small. There we are. And we're just going to form it into a leaf shape. Like that. I know it looks scrappy, but it will look good once we've reduced. Like that. And another one. Right. So we're going to need another 3 of those. So we're going to need some more clay. More clay. I get complaints on the polymer clay groups that my films just take forever. I know there's a tradition for clay tutorials to be like 5 minutes long. Half hour is considered a really long tutorial. But there's so many stages that are taken out. It's almost at the point where you're just literally watching them assemble all the bits that they've pre-made, and it's always sat uncomfortable with me because some of these middling steps do look scrappy, they do look messy, and you can be left feeling unsure that you've done it right, that you haven't just ended up, whoop, don't drop it on the floor. At least it weren't white.
Says, I like the longer videos.
You do. I always worry that I'm waffling and boring, which is exactly what you want from your YouTube presenter. Someone waffling on and boring the life out of you. I'm try to keep it interesting, but I'm hard to offend, so you can tell me if you're finding it that way.
There's a huge difference between a live stream and an edited tutorial. This is a social experience.
Oh, you guys are so lovely. I'm so lucky to have you all.
Charlie Star says, you're not boring at all.
I am. I'm very, very lucky. And when I first started claying, I did not think I would ever get to this stage where I could just happily fiddle along and make a complex cane. I worried about it. I overthought it. It was one of the things that I did the latest. I can't say it's the last thing that I've been working on in as far as teaching myself goes, because that has to go to human sculpting. That I have huge respect of anyone that can draw, paint, sculpt or anything the human form, because our whole evolution has made it that we spot the slightest thing wrong or out of place, and there's actual mathematics involved in drawing a face, on how far the nose is from the eyes, from everything else. There's formulas for this stuff, and I can't get it so that it just looks like a normal person.
Artie says, I wouldn't watch a long tutorial. I join your stream to be here with you. And Fairy Hedgehog says, me too. Summertime I'm only listening while I'm making dinner, but I love to see what's emerging.
Thank you. As long as I'm not boring you all, I'm happy.
I've moved it up to the kitchen to listen while I start dinner.
Oh, what you having?
Charlie Star says, cannot stand working out human form, so I just avoid it.
Yeah, me too. I've been asked in my shop, can you sculpt? It's even worse when they say, here's a photo of someone, can you make them? No, I can't. You need someone who has had actual clay lessons rather than me, who have just sort of learnt as I've gone along. Just getting all this black off my hands because I'm going to be working on that light orange. But I would love to attend a class. I've actually looked into whether there's any classes around me that will teach me to sculpt humans, and I got all excited because literally round the corner from me I've got a college of arts, and I was like, brilliant, an art college. Yeah, no, dance, drama, performing arts, digital, how to produce a film from it. I'm like,
Fairy Hedgehog says, I do that too, to Artie Life by cooking and watching. Fairy Hedgehog again says, oh my word, that's looking amazing, Carly.
thank you.
Artie Life says, we're having tacos. I didn't get any taco seasoning, so I'll be using fajita seasoning instead.
That's what I do.
Fairy Hedgehog says, it sounds good. Artie Life, we've got chicken, sausages and cauliflower.
Yep. Fairy Hedgehog is very, very lovely. She technically is my official carer because of all the health problems I have, and she does my dinners for me every day.
Charlie Star says, it's not an art college, it's an arts college, in quotes. Huge difference between the two.
I noticed. I'm so disappointed in them. It's like, just do a sculpting course just for me.
Fairy Hedgehog says, beautiful. Artie Life says, there's a YouTube channel called Croquet Cafe, which I believe streams live models continuously. Was it Crocus Cafe?
So they stream life models so that you can try and draw it all. But I need someone to literally sit there and go, you're doing that wrong, you're doing that wrong, that needs to be like this. Because I've got the books. I've got a lot of really good books actually that should teach me how to draw these things and sculpt these things. But I learn better from actually doing rather than reading, which was a joy through secondary school. But so yeah, I really want to go and find a class. If I ever do get good at human sculpting, I know that I can teach that definitely around Epsom, because I'll be the only one doing it. Right, can you see we want two suns, but we want it so that the outside, that they when you put them together they will back on and make a full sun. So I've half the block, put that in half for two of the centrals, and this I'm going to divide out into the little sticks around the outside, and then it's just filling it in with white up to there. This is going to be a mammoth cane. Mammoth. Right, let's go like that. Maybe take a bit off each side there and there, so that we divide that into three, because it'll look a bit odd with just two. So let's divide that into three. There we go. Right, this is the other way you can do it with canes. Instead of just building from one side up, you can put your elements in place and then fill in the gaps, which is what I'm going to do with this white. I'm just going to form a few little pointy bits to go around these suns, and then I'm going to get a load of white and I'm just going to break off bits and smudge it into the gaps, because all the join lines vanish. So you really can make quite a scruffy model, and it will actually come out looking very, very smart. What can I do? Like that, like that. Let's do a littler one that's more dumpy. This is the benefit of doing this version, where you just add a little bit until you get it where you want, and then fill in the gaps. You can reposition. So just coming through, doing the same the other side. 3 of them. This is a long one. It's going to be worth it. With this is I tell you what, good thing to do once you've made your cane is think about what you're going to do with it. There are a lot of people I know who make really pretty canes but have no idea how to cover anything with a cane or what to do with it. Spare some thought to this. If you end up with a load of clay that looks great but you can't use it for nothing, then it really won't worth your time doing.
So, when you could see the partial lunar eclipse?
Oh, cool. I heard about it and then I fell asleep. It was, I've seen pictures of it. It was really pretty, and I can imagine it was quite clear because we didn't have a lot of cloud last night, which is unusual. UK usually, whenever there's something going on in space, an asteroid storm, an eclipse, we get all the cloud. It's like someone sends a message up to universe to say they want to watch something up there, quick, cover it up. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm just getting white, I'm taking off little bits, and I'm just filling in the gaps to the height that I want. lots of little bits. You don't want to do too chunkier bits, especially when you get near to what your other colours. And they will all these little join lines will all fill back up as you reduce them. So don't worry. Smudge it all in. It's so easy to overthink cane work. I've done it myself. I worried. I've thought, I haven't planned this enough. It's going to go terribly.
So Hedgehog says, at 10:15 I saw an orange moon, but it was behind the trees opposite us. I'd have to have stayed up quite a bit later to see it properly. Charlie Star says, it was really pretty and quite big partial eclipse too, like what a half moon looks like, but rather side to side. The eclipse went top to bottom.
That sounds awesome. Top to bottom, is that what it normally is? I thought it normally was on the horizontal. So that must have been an extra odd one. I'm glad you got to see it. Was it all night or was it at a certain time? It would have been a certain time. What time was it that it actually started eclipsing in the UK?
What time did it reach totality? Or
Yes, what time did it reach
the
maximum of its eclipse? Do you know? Roof blade. There we go. Once I get this filled in, it's going to be really quick doing the purple swirls and those hearts. There we go.
Hedgehog says the moon didn't rise till after 9:30.
So it must have been really late.
I think the max was around 11.
Yeah, it must have been proper late. Right. Filling in these gaps. Now, yeah, I learnt a saying, something is better than perfect. And it's something that you've got to bear in mind when you're an artist or even a business person of any description. It's better to have something made than spend time putting it off, planning and worrying and thinking maybe this won't work out. Give it a go.
Hedgehog says there's a site called Time and Date that tells you all that, and then she links it. Charlie Star says no, the eclipse covered the upper half, so we saw the bottom half. Normally when a moon is half moon at side to side, the eclipse started around 10, but the moon was really low in the sky.
Awesome. Sounds like an interesting night last night. And I slept through it all. Oh well. There will be another one, probably ages away, but it will happen. Now, do make sure some of these white areas are dipped down. Make sure that it's all level with the rest of the clay and it's not too high, so you can stack it up, you can smudge it in.
Charlie Stars said like this but twisted 90 degrees with a remote of the moon.
Awesome. Very pretty. Did you get any pictures?
Says max was 10:30 and it ended at 11. I've just checked.
Yeah, I was in bed by 11. Very much so. Indulging in my favourite hobby, clean bedding. I know that is really sad, but I absolutely love having clean beds to lay in. Right, up to that stage. Maybe a bit more white in the corners here, just to bring it up level. Then we got the gold fans to put in, and the spirals and hearts. I'm not sure if I'm going to go as far as the hearts, because this is getting to be a very big cane.
Charlie Star said she's got, they have one that my friend sent me early on in the eclipse. I can show you when I see you.
Awesome. I will be very interested to see. I say this a lot. Nature is my favourite artist. Does an awesome job of it. I wish I was better at photographing. Right, I'm going to surround these gold wedges in black. So I'm going to do gold and then the copper and bring it out into a fan shape. So there we go, like that. You're meant to trim the black down to size before you wrap it, but I don't. I just do that. I know I'm a bit down off the bottom. A lot of my space is being taken up with this old chunky thing. So, found one of those. Do a gold one. Sorry, a copper one. Like that. Now, remember you don't want a double thickness. So, what you want to do is like that, and then you cover that side, top and outside, and one that side like that. Get the hair out of it. Sometimes it would be useful if I was bored. Right, another black. Sorry hubby, I know this is taking a long old time. It's so hot in here, my black is tearing. There we go. Look how scruffy that black's turned out. It's because it is so much easier to work in a cold room. If you're able to choose a room to work in and you've got a choice between high temperature and low temperature every time. Absolutely. Can be very annoying at high temperatures. And us UKers, we're just not used to it. I know we have summer every year and it shouldn't be a surprise, but it's a surprise. It really is. Don't like it. There we go. Now, the less space you got, the more clean you're going to need to be. As you can see, I spread and take up whatever space I'm in, but I have done things this complicated working off a really tiny tray on my lap in bed. I actually do that more often than you'd believe.
It looks amazing. I'm envious of your design skills.
Can you see that didn't get all the way over? There's a gap, and that's absolutely fine. Get yourself a bit of your scrappy black clay, just patch it in there. If I have any left over of this, which I probably will because it's going to turn out a stonker, any of you guys that want a bit, just let me know. If you want to pick it up, it's all yours. And don't mind sharing. There we go, that in there.
Would it be worth saving a little to one side so you can get a small aircon unit just for that room so you can work in a more sustainable channel?
We're seriously considering it. I don't know.
XRT Abby X says hello.
Hello, welcome. We're
Says good plan, Charlie.
a long way through making a cane, but we still got a ways to go, and you haven't missed the most fun bit, which is reducing it all down so you get to see the end result. Just trimming off the edge of this. I know it looks scruffy, but it won't do in the end. Promise you, it'll look grand. Right, now I need to turn that one into 2 to go either side there. So what I'm going to do is just start to shrink it. Now remember, you're squeezing from the middle, bringing it up, making sure that you're not losing the shape too much. You want to flip it over, make sure you're working all the different sides, so you're not working too much on one side because that will cause a distortion as well. Just keep nice and even, and if you do get it too far out of shape, that's fine, you can bring it back again at the end. I have turned a triangle cane into a round one, back into a triangle again, and it distorted but only tiny bit, and it still looked amazing. I was like, woo!
Charlie Star says, I'm so grateful for mine in my bedroom. They're well worth the money for the relief in hot weather, or if you can't control the temperature like me. The Hedgehog says, I think we need them these days.
Yeah, they're saying that the UK in a couple of years' time will have the similar temperatures to Portugal now. So I don't know what that means Portugal's going to wind up like. Right. Look at that. Ain't that pretty?
So we couldn't focus in time, right?
Yeah.
Have it.
Focus in. You wanted to focus. There you go. Right, I'm going to chop you in half. Like that.
The Hedgehog says we've got an aircon in the living room when we need it, when we have to keep the cats on. Charlie Star says, with the continual rising heat, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
The Hedgehog says, love it. Charlie Star says, everywhere is getting hotter and hotter.
That's what I'm going to do with that. And can you see how I've just pushed on it to get it the right height? I've been pulling it to get it to fit where I want. You control the clay. For the longest time I didn't believe that. I was scared of it. I thought I'm going to make it all look rubbish and distorted and all the fears that you get as a new artist. And I've got to admit, there are times the end result looks nothing like what I planned. I look at the picture and I look at what I got and go, why did I bother with the picture? There was no point. Nothing happened like that. It's still pretty.
Love it was for the fan shaped too.
So I'm just going to do... Right. This is what my guide is. So we are through all of that up to there. So we just got that last bit to do. And then I can reduce this. So let's swirl some blue and purple around each other. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that top line of hearts. I think it's just going to make it too big. I might do something, I don't know. Let's see. Bring this out into a long thin, because we're going to do that spiral again, but in purples and blue. So what you're doing, I know I'm off to one side, I'm sorry. You're bringing this so that it's longer but through the fade. Anyone that's come late, if you're worried that you missed stuff and it's things you want to learn how to do, you can always watch. This is going to be a video on YouTube.
The Hedgehog says, I so want to see this reduced.
I know.
Says, me too.
I know. I love watching that last bit. It's so much work. I'm knackered at the end of reducing my canes, but it really is just a really pretty thing. So whereas these were solid colours in that spiral, I'm doing this along the fade. So how I'm doing it is, instead of putting any dividing sheets in, I'm going to just literally roll this out. That was it. Chop it in half lengthwise, and then sandwich the purple in between the two blues. So you've got to roll it out so that it fits the same as your purple. I'm running out of space. Running out of space. When I first moved into this craft room, I thought, there's so much space here, I'm going to have tons of room for everything. And I'm pretty amazed that I've already filled it. And anyone who knows me, I'm not one of these crafters that will take absolutely everything into my collection. I've got to have a clear usage for it before I will allow myself to make it part of my material stock. And it's hard sometimes. I have before my mum died, she got very into card making, except she didn't. She got really into buying card making stuff. Didn't do much actual card making, and had just a whole mass amount of things, more than you could ever use in a lifetime. And I know how easy that is. I'm very strict on myself. I don't want to become that. You can end up with so much stuff that you can't get at any of it. So here we go, it's stacked up like that. Then remember, like we did there, diagonal slice off the tip like that. See, it's so simple to wind up that way.
I think I've said I did that a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's the modern life that we lead. We have access to so much possessions. I mean, you look 100 years ago at how much they actually got given or able to buy the whole thing in their lifetime, and it's such a small fraction of what the modern human has. And that's a problem. You need to make sure that you go through it, that you are strict. I have family members that will put everything from one room, they do it one room at a time, in the centre of the room. You can only take it at the centre and put it away if you actually legitimately use it. And if there's anything still in the centre of that room after a given time, which is usually about 6 months, that goes into charity shop. Now that's harsh. That's really harsh. I'm like, how do you end up with winter clothes? They're like, okay, no, if you've got a clear use for it outside the 6 month framework, you can discuss it with the rest of the household, and if they agree, then it can come out the middle. But
says it looks like an eraser, and guess it's past that point.
Yeah. What looks like an eraser?
I think it did before you started rolling.
Oh right, yes, the stacked up colours. I forgot about those erasers. I've not had them in ages. That looks a little bit distorted on that side, so let's trim it down to where it's not distorted. There we are. See, there we are. That's the finished purple swirl. So there's a lot more blue, and it's going dark through to light. So we're going to cut some slices, put them all around the outside, and then I'm going to call it a job, because I think trying to add in the pink hearts at the end is going to just put too much height on this.
So when you cut the diagonal bit off, it looked like an eraser.
Yes.
Nice.
I forgot all about that type of eraser, because I remember them being absolutely rubbish. They would smudge everything, Especially the red section, you know, the rougher section. It'll just rip your paper to shreds. They always did my head in. Now remember, you've got a choice. You can either make it so that they're all facing the same way like that, or you can do that with them. And that's what I think I'm going to do.
Hedgehog says, if you don't stop soon, dinner will be overcooked.
Sorry.
Charlie Star says the razors were terrible.
They were. So much of the school supplies were, though. I'm going to put these on and then I'm going to reduce. I promise. I love you guys and I'm going to keep doing my live streaming, but dinner's dinner. Now, will you fit all the way across here, or am I going to meet you in the middle? What I'm doing, because I'm not sure I've got enough purple, is I'm going to evenly go across the outside and work towards the middle. And if they don't meet up in the middle, then that's fine. They can be a half line like that. So that's the second. Look, two there, two there. Now, I've got two left. So what I'm going to do with those two is that. And leave that gap. Got some spare pink. This is how kludgy you can actually be with canes. That's spare. Let's make you fit in there. Like that. I'm sure you, when we tessellate, it'll make something pretty. There we go. One big old triangle. Now, your canes, you can make triangles, you can make squares, you can make rounds, depending on what you want for your end design.
Shirley Star says, you always do them without trying to start with the next video and finish it with something more simple for those of us who are beginners.
I think that is it. Now, to reduce something this big, I haven't got an end cap that size. So what I'm going to start to do is I'm just putting pressure evenly. I'm using the suction of the board underneath to... Yeah, that's why I'm reducing it now. Even pressure.
It looks amazing.
It does.
Originalist says that this looks so awesome.
Thank you.
Says, right now that looks so cool as a round cane.
We are going to have to see what it looks like once I get reducing this bad boy, because it's huge. Usually that's the size canes that I do as my start off. That's my end caps. And what I got for those, because the end caps they sell on the polymer clay groups on the shops that I showed you, they're even smaller than those. So I got coasters, drinks coasters. They had this really ugly picture of Big Ben on them. That got scraped off with my tissue blade, and now I've got some really nice clear. I can see this clay is hot. Please don't distort on me. You know you don't want to. There we go. We're getting that. Now, the other thing you can do, lift it off the board and use your rolling pin and push on each side. Get your blade up the right way, girl. There we go.
So. You need a huge bathroom tile to make end caps for this one.
I know, right? It's a mammoth. Mammoth. So I'm just putting even pressure. Don't want to mess it up too much. Do they? I'm going to have to go up to Poundland then. What I want is a plate coaster. So kind of a quarter of the size of the boards I'm using.
says useful to know or to
for when I end up with stonkers like this. I'm just even pressure.
Charlie Star says, was just about to say that for a reason.
Can you see there's that dip where I'm working from the middle? I know this top is going to look very distorted. It's the middle bit of clay that will be the really usable bit. And
Charlie Star says, I'll keep an eye out in case I come across
we're
it.
trying to get it as level as possible. Push on those corners. Let's get that shrunk down a bit. Like that. It's already thicker, it's going. But can you see it wants to bow? So don't forget to flip it. And have a work on that middle bit. And the end caps really help because they stick and keep suction so that you don't get that bowing. So I'm just accepting there's going to be wastage on this cane. I actually really like the distorted end bits. I end up using them for all sorts of other things, sometimes in the same design because it's got the same colour scheme and it's still pretty. So like this, I can also get my rolling pin and use that to push some of this out. Just have a fiddle around, keep trying to make it taller but smaller.
Says, I'm very intrigued to see the end product.
Me too. I've messed up many canes. Well, I say messed up, they end up, the reduced image doesn't look like what I made, but I've never had a cane where I didn't think it looked pretty. And one of the good things about being the artist is half the time the thing that you made, the people don't know what you had planned. So if it doesn't go to plan, you're the only one that knows that.
Hedgehog says, can you use the end caps now?
I probably can. Let's have a look. Yeah.
Hedgehog says, or do you use them from the beginning?
You're meant to use them from the beginning, but needs must. Now, this is a good thing to show you. When you put your end caps on, you can see where the glass has been smudged against the clay around there. It's got that sort of smudged look to it. That middle bit you can see isn't smudged on the glass.
Originals says, I don't even dare to do canes, they always fail.
Right, you're the person to talk to here because I was that, and I'm telling you, give it a go. Start off, there's 2 points in here. I'll show you how to do that kind of spiral and that kind of bullseye. They're 2-second canes. They're really simple. Get practicing with that and you'll get used to the reduction technique. You will get used to the fact that some canes don't turn out how you planned, but look at them carefully.
If you can do that any more forward,
Sorry, there we
you
go.
have to.
Look at how they end up, not with how you planned for them to be, but are they pretty? So many of my ones that turned out looking a bit odd still turned out really pretty. And like I said, you're the only one that knows what you were planning. I go out on a limb on here and show you the whole thing, but I tell you, you're going to see the mistakes. Part of why I want to go live and show you the whole thing, you'll get mistakes, you'll get problems that need overcoming, you'll get bits that the end result didn't turn out like I explained. I mean, I know these are meant to be tutorials, but I think it's just as important to show someone like me. I've been at this now 3 years. I'm just wiping the sweat off my hands because it's a hot job and you don't want that moisture getting into your clay. 3 years and I still have mistakes and problems on a daily basis. kaleidoscope canes. That's the way to go. Once you're really confident with a kaleidoscope cane, then you can start on picture canes, because when you distort picture canes it's really obvious. But a kaleidoscope, it's just all colours swirling into each other, so it all looks right. I know people who do those really good, and they really are good tutorials but they are very polished. They will film like an hour or two's worth of tutorial and cut it down to 5 minutes. Like some serious cutting going on there. And I think it has value. It has a lot of value. But I found when I got started, it was disconcerting because they made it look so smooth. And you're trying to follow along, and what you end up with doesn't look like what they end up with. And you're like, but they made it look so easy. Well, no, it's not. This one is paddling furiously underneath. We all are, even the most experienced. I'm going to take this off. I can already see there's enough distortion on this that it ain't going to be worth the end caps. But I'll show you actually the value of distorted canes once I get that far. So keep squidging it. You're going to bring it up long and thin, because there is a lot of value. Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. You're all very nice. Very, very, very nice to me. I'm confident, even if this wasn't something that people wanted. I've had people saying they don't see why I'm doing this. It's a diary for myself for later, at worse ways. But I'm hoping that others get out of it what I really wanted when I got started, which was watching someone experience sweat like they'd gone for a jog, turn out with something that isn't the polished thing that they planned, and still loving it. Yeah. I find it helps if you look, it's no longer a triangle. I know people who really do their best to make sure that it's kept in exactly the shape that you started out with. What I do as a trick is I work at one colour, work out roughly what one side's going to be on the thick bit. Sorry, I work out which side is going to be which on the triangle. So if I'm bring it out of shape, I know that pink line needs to be at the top point, the two purples need to be in the bottom corner, so I can always reshape it at the end. And if it distorts, it distorts. I am not precious about caning. That's why I say don't fear it. Get your clay out, have a go of it, because whatever you end up with, it may not be what you planned, but it will end up pretty. It's almost impossible to turn out something that turns out ugly. So all I'm going to do at this stage, because I want to turn this back into a triangle, is now I'm going to take my rolling pin and put those purple lines in the top corner and tell it I want that to be straight. Pinch it, pinch it, pinch it. Yeah, that's what I want now, because I've got a lot of box that I need covering. So flip. Wait, you don't fall off the end.
So you're forming the shape.
I'm forming it now into that triangle shape, using my board, using my fingers, pinching and pushing, and I'm not taking the ends off because just this process will distort the end, so you might as well distort the clay that's already distorted. Right, shall we do this then? Shall we cut it open? Right, here we go. I'm so happy. It turned out like I wanted. What do you reckon? Zoom in. Or focus rather. What do you reckon? Ain't it pretty? So let's show you some tessellations of this. Let's cut some slices. I'll show you what I'm going to do on my box. So, 1, 2, 3. There's 6 of them.
Oh wow.
Let's
Wow.
the clean side of this.
Yeah, it says it looks so great. Hedgehog says,
Thank you.
That's awesome. Hedgehog says,
I'll probably have leftovers, so if I do, if you want any, just let me know. I can always get it in the post to you. If I don't, then I don't. It's all down to what covers the box that I've got. Here we go. Let's do these as 4 together.
Vicky Vanderstacks asks, what are you making?
I'm making a polymer clay cane to cover a display box that I'm... There you go. Zoom in. That's not entirely lined up perfectly, but what do you reckon?
That's good to me.
I'm pretty pleased with that. So what I'm going to then do, when I go to cover my box, I will cut thin slices that are the same length, same thickness as each other, lay them all out on a sheet, roll it out so that all the joining lines are gone. You can either roll it with a rolling pin, you can cover it in deli wrap to stop any distortions, and use something smooth to burnish in the join lines.
It's absolutely perfect. Untitled Life says, oh, beautiful. Hedgehog says, so pretty.
Thank you, everyone. I am so pleased with it. Even when you make it, you never know. So what I was going to show you lastly, these distorted bits, yeah, that is not a waste. Let's bring it down a bit in size and I'll show you what's inside some of these.
Hedgehog says, me too. So, Charlie wants to see the tray covered.
I will, you definitely will get to see the tray covered, but it's going to take me ages slicing it all up and putting it out. That's a little less interesting, but still you've got quite a pretty shape there. You keep going through and you can see there's still pretty designs. It's not that, but you slice up some of the distorted and put them together. Let's do that. I'll show you. You still can use your distortion pieces. That's still a pretty thing. It's not that, but if you covered something in that, no one would see that.
I like it because you never really know what you're getting.
Yeah, that's my favourite bit. But see what I mean about the distorted bits? Don't throw them away. Don't just smudge them into one colour. You can do stuff. And the other thing, see how that's not actually that interesting. If you make a complete mess up of your cane, here's my little insider's trick.
Says that would be a gorgeous pendant.
Thank you.
Says, amazing what different things you can do with one cane.
Roll it out thin. Hold one end. Twist the other on itself. This is if you've got a bit that you think it's completely uninteresting, can't really do much with it. Get a bit of a twist on it, like that. Let's cut it shorter for ease. Then cut that down the middle, like this. then what you get is a whole different kind of image that you can then line up and make these twists. And even some of my most suckiest train wrecks, doing that twist and then cutting down the middle still winds up with something else that's really pretty that you can use. And because it's in the same colour scheme as the main cane that you want to use, can you imagine if I cut these out, did a square and then bordered it with these, so it all looks like it's all the same colours? Yeah,
that looks so cool all by itself.
Exactly. So the fear that your cane will go wrong, yes and no. It may not turn out how you planned. That is an entire thing that happens to me, that happens to the best caners on the planet, which I am definitely not. If you want to see some master cane work, go over to Teresa Santiago's Tiny Pandora. She does canes that blow me out of the water. I'll try and find the name of this guy that I follow. I can't remember it, but he does life-size animals covered in slices of canes, and I'm sure he's a wizard. There are no join lines on any of the canes. Every single image is identical to the one before, not a single bit of distortion through the whole things. And he's got life-size elephants. I'm like, first of all, I don't know where you found an oven to bake all that, because you would have join lines if you glued it together. But even so, attaching that without a single smudge, I don't understand. I'm sure he's made a deal with someone involving a willow wand and I can't remember his name. It's John something or other.
Oh no, not Ivy then.
No. I'll find his work. I'll ask his permission and I'll give you a look next week, because I am absolutely floored by him. He is one of my caning masters. But Teresa is another one. She really does focus on cane work. She's probably 10 years plus for my 3 years, and is a lovely person. She answers when you ask her things. It's all good. But yeah, so I've now got all that to work from out of my actual cane, and that's perfect both sides, and a whole lot of extra that I can play around with and make some interesting swells from. And all your scrappy bits like this, you again just put them all in together, smudge them all up. Sorry, all your little scrappy offcuts like this. I'm just stacking them all up. Bit of gold in there, all your offcuts. Now you can do two things. Either you can roll that out and swirl it like I did with that side twist, or if you want your colours not to be too blocked together, chop it into a few bits so that you don't have such big lumps like that. Back them on each other so it's really quite random, like that, like that. Bring it together so it's actually stuck. So these are all the ideas, because one of the things that put me off cane making is the amount of waste clay. It's not waste. There's so much you can do. So here we go. We can either use it like this, just bunched together, and you end up with some really nice chunky images, or you can roll it into a stick like that. You want to go quite thick, give it a twist like that down the middle, One of these days they'll do a tissue blade that's 30 centimeters long or something. So this was the really, really scrappy clays endy bits. Look at this. Those were the bits that I didn't even actually bring into a cane. They were the complete offcuts. So I argue there is no waste clay to a cane. And what you end up with is so many different variables. I have more fun with my scraps than I do with the bit that turned out right. Yeah?
Your hedgehogs are so interesting.
So, any of you, thank you. So if you're new to caning and you want any help, you can always get in touch with me on my YouTube under this video. I'd love to see what you made. If you want to be a bit more private and you're a bit nervous about public talking, go on to my Facebook, Carly Langridge, CarlyLangridge, linked below. Message me. I am generally not good in the mornings, but you'll get me every afternoon and evening. I love helping people. So good luck with it all. I'm here every Wednesday, so like and follow if you want to see more, and do feel free to get in touch and show me your canes that you made. Good luck with it all and have a really good week. Okay, I'll see you later. Thanks. Bye.